Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on the streaming network at 4. I'm John Kim. We have the first weather day from today until Monday, and that's why we have this streaming broadcast today. So, you know, it's cold. It's really cold. It's stupid cold outside, and then that's why we have the first weather day for today. So we'll have joining us is our first meteorologist, Andrew Whitmar. No, Jappameter is actually there. I did some shows on weekdays, so that's making me a little bit there. So, Jack, tell us a little bit about the temperatures that we're seeing right now here in Michiana.
Yeah, John, it is just darn cold outside. We can take a look at our regional view because that's how we forecast things in meteorology. You got to look at the big picture, and then you could kind of step it in and really kind of put the microscope to the forecast, if you will. Here in South Bend, you can see it in red, almost blending into the contour on our wind chill map. It feels like -6 in South Bend. It feels like -5 down in Indianapolis, and where this really cold and Arctic, almost polar air is actually pulling from, it's going to be up to the northwest in the Great Plains states. We're talking the Dakotas, also portions of Wisconsin, Minnesota, etc. We can see it feels like -20 out there. So we have warmed up, if you will, if you could even consider this warming up from yesterday. Now, taking a look at the regional view of our temperatures, we can see, again, a decent spread across the area. -6 in South Bend, but if you just go over to the east a little bit, feels like -10 in Elkhart, -12 out in Goshen. Same situation with Plymouth. Those seeing the lake effect cloud cover this evening are a few degrees warmer than those seeing clear skies. Obviously out in Elkhart and Goshen at the 4 o'clock hour, which we currently are at, they are seeing those clear skies, and they're also seeing very cold conditions. The big question is, how long is the cold going to be lasting? Unfortunately, it's going to be lasting for quite some time, and especially throughout the weekend. Our team once again issuing 4 first alert weather days. All 4 of them started yesterday, so on day 2 of 4, today, Sunday, and Monday, all our first alert weather days. Yes, we have some snow in the forecast. We are concerned, though, with the cold, because with the snow, obviously that's going to vary over distance. The cold doesn't matter where you are. Everybody is going to be feeling it. So for the rest of your Saturday, this is what we're tracking out. That top line going to be the air temperature. That bottom line, that's going to be the feel like wind chill value. Wind chill is going to be solidly in the teens for the rest of the evening and into the overnight hours. Air temperatures, same situation, but obviously they are going to be warmer. So right around 5 degrees, holding that steady through the midnight hour. For your forecast for tomorrow, starting off cold in the morning, -12 degrees for that feel like value, and only improving by a handful of degrees. Feels like -7 by 3 o'clock. The issue with tomorrow's forecast is we are actually tracking out some snow in addition to the cold weather in the forecast tomorrow, John.
So, Jack, it is not just Michiana region that are expected to see the snow, right? Because I think we are following some national weathercasts, and then they're talking about the national snowstorms stretching from the south to all the way to northeast, including New York and Boston. So could you tell us a little bit about how that will impact our region?
Yeah, absolutely, John. It is a monster. I mean, a monster of a snowstorm. Here's a current look of it on our radar. A lot of coloration showing up across the nation. You got to think about how big this thing is. This system stretching out to West Texas and already reaching into portions of their Virginias over there. So that's fairly impressive. Just the length of that alone is getting close to 2,000 miles in length. And also, if you go down to the south side, let's go over to southern Louisiana around New Orleans area. They're seeing the heavy downpours, maybe some thunderstorms embedded with the system because it's pulling up all of that Gulf moisture. We're seeing this orange-yellow coloration, so that's going to be in portions of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama as well, southern Tennessee. That is going to be mixed precipitation, so actually watching for ice to form. Actually, there's a lot of ice storm warnings out there. Folks could be measuring ice not in tenths of inches, but in full inches. That will cripple infrastructure, something that we're keeping a rather close eye on for our friends to the south. And then obviously all of the snow that is currently actually impacting portions of central Indiana. Indianapolis seeing some decent snowflakes. Got a report from Bloomington, Indiana. They're also seeing the cold weather for today and also seeing the beginning of the snow that is starting to come down. But check this out. This is a fairly interesting map. We're going to go ahead and start local here. We have a number of winter weather products, or alerts, if you will, that are already in place. Michiana is under a winter weather advisory. It's going to be in this purple coloration on my screen here, almost showing up a little blue, but purple nonetheless, for some light snow showers that are going to be lasting until tomorrow evening. Now check out our friends to the south and to the east. Fort Wayne, Indiana, they're going to be in that pink coloration. You know what that is? That's actually going to be a winter storm warning. And if you wanted some company to be in a winter storm warning, check this out. I do not think, now granted, I've been doing meteorology now for a couple years, since college, right? So maybe 4 or 5 years now. I don't think I've ever seen a winter map look like this. Check out all of the pink. That's all going to be winter storm warnings extended into portions of New Mexico. That's going to be El Paso, Texas, there right on the border, going all the way out to northern Maine. Again, 2,500 mile stretch for this storm. And then this magenta, we'll call it Barney purple. I don't know, we'll go with that. That's fine there. Louisiana, portions of Mississippi getting into Tennessee, and then also over in Atlanta. We're going to be keeping a rather close eye on Atlanta because they all have the ice storm warning that is going to be in effect. That is something that, like I said earlier, going to cripple a lot of folks. You got to remember, Atlanta, the busiest airport, first off, in the country, busiest airport in the world as well. So a lot of hubs down there. I think Delta's got a hub down in Atlanta. Of course, United and all the big players in the airline game. That is going to be an airport that we're going to be watching rather closely. As you can see, Michiana right on the edge from the advisory to the full-blown warning. Main reason for that, well, we're not going to be getting as much snow and as much impacts as our friends to the south. So it's a big storm that we are watching for, and it already is becoming fairly impressive, John.
Yeah, Jack, that's right. I think some states in the Northeast region, like including New York and New Jersey, they stated the state of emergency by the governors. But I think, do you think, can we come back to our Michiana region, and then can we look at how much inches of snow that we're expecting to see here in Michiana? I think you talked about there are some differences between southern parts of our area, like Kosciuszko County and Pulaski County, and also some northern parts of our area, like southwest Michigan, like Cass or Berrien County. Could you walk us through a little bit about how much inches of snow we're expecting tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that, no problem, John. First off, let's go ahead and start with what's happening now, because again, going back to forecasting 101, you got to understand what the atmosphere is doing now to predict what it's going to do in the future. Currently, we are seeing a few light snow showers, maybe even flurries start to fall in southern portions of Michiana, Winnemac, Rochester, Warsaw, just to the south there of US 30. We are seeing some of the blue coloration showing up on First Alert Radar live at this hour. And as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon today into the evening, that's when we are going to be actually seeing the snow showers pick up in intensity and also pick up in size. Everybody will be impacted by this storm. So let's go ahead now and walk hour by hour with Future Track. We're going to go ahead and start it right now at 5, or excuse me, we're not at 5 yet. At 4 p.m. There we go. That's a little better. We can see Future Track already struggling to even get some of those flurries up into southern Michiana. However, it still has the overall theory correct with this large system. By 11 o'clock tonight, obviously, here on Channel 16, John and I will be live bringing the latest headlines and obviously an updated forecast. But by then, by 11 o'clock this evening, that's when everybody is going to be getting in on the light snow and actually heavier snow, especially down to the south. And just check out how long the system is expected to linger in Michiana. Again, just starting currently for southern Indiana and southern Michiana for that matter. By 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, still seeing that system moving through the region, and it's not going to stop at the lunchtime hour, noon. Still seeing snow at the end of the day. It's not until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. That's when the system can finally slide off to the east and move out of Michiana. Unfortunately, we're not completely done with snow after that. What is this forming over Lake Michigan? It's our dear friend lake effect snow, and it looks like that lake effect band is going to wander into Michiana Sunday night and into Monday morning. We'll talk more about that lake effect snow when we go back on the air at 6 o'clock here on Channel 16. But as for snow totals, this is what we're expecting regional, and then of course we will zoom in for everybody. We can see that snow growing throughout the day and throughout the evening, right around 3 to 4 inches across all of the region. Check out that big gradient, if you will, from St. Joe, Michigan, only getting 2 inches of that system snow. Again, this is snow now until tomorrow evening. Keep that in mind. 2 inches for St. Joseph, Michigan. Coming down here to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where they're under a winter storm warning. Those folks down there could be getting close to 8 inches of snow, but a very tight gradient between 2 inches and 8 inches, obviously spanning all of Michiana. Plymouth, Warsaw, Rochester in that 5 to 4 range. South Bend northwards, we're thinking right around 3 to 4 inches of snow. Closer to Lake Michigan, going to be seeing less snow as well. So kind of an unusual setup than what we're used to this winter. We've seen a lot of lake effect snow this winter. So of course, the people really being impacted throughout the winter has been our friends in Berrien and Cass County. But it's looking like they're going to be getting a breather with the system snow tracking through the area, John.
So it looks like compared to the usual lake effect snow that we usually see in our region, it's kind of flipped. So more
Yes.
the south part of our region will see more snow rather than the southwest Michigan. Friends out there have seen a lot of snow already, so they're kind of taking a little bit of breathe on this season.
Well, and I want to stress a very quick breather. This is like if you're running a marathon and you see a water table and you're like, okay, here we go. I can go get some water. I can kind of refuel real quick because they got to get back into the race because like I just said, we're still tracking out lake effect snow Sunday night and into Monday morning. So we'll have more details about that in about 2 hours.
So we talked about these frigid temperatures and snow. Do we have any good news, Jack? Do you have any warming up or any temperatures or some sunny, or do you have any of that in our 10-day forecast?
I'm trying to see. Let's see if I can find some positives here, John, in our 10-day forecast. I do have to do a little bit of data manipulation here, so if you don't mind, hold tight here.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, I don't want to show you today's forecast. We've already moved past our high temperature for the day. So we gotta kind of move that onwards, and then let's go ahead.
But we can see that the normal temperature high is 31, and then you can see like our high temperatures expected in our 10 days, they're all below the 31 degrees, meaning we're way below the average right now. So
yeah, way below the average. And as we actually look to end the month of January, first off, we're going to do it well below 32 degrees, well below our average high temperature of the year. Like you just mentioned, is 31 degrees. And well below our average low temperature of 16 degrees. So we're all below average. The one thing that we're actually above average is going to be our snowfall. Actually, just yesterday, Andrew Whitmire, aforementioned, obviously you mentioned him at the beginning of this cast, had a great graphic that's on social media on his Facebook page stating that South Bend has actually surpassed its average seasonal snowfall, actually finally crested that threshold of 64 inches. And this is like one of the first winters that we have actually seen above average snowfall in 8 years. That's fairly impressive. We do look to add on to the snowfall. Obviously, all day tomorrow, 80% chance of snow in the forecast. Monday, 60%. Got to remember with Monday's forecast to start off the week, cold weather returning back into Michiana. Once again, low of 0, high of 0. Double zeros for Monday. A very bitterly cold start to the week. In addition, tracking out the lake effect snow. And then I guess you could call it a warming trend. I really want to try and find some warm positives here to talk about next week's forecast. And I guess the one thing you can say about next week's forecast versus what we're currently dealing with is it'll be a little warmer. not by much, but just a little bit. 12 degrees on Tuesday,
right.
topping out 15 Wednesday, almost at 20 on Friday, almost there, not quite there, but it's looking like next weekend. That's when we can finally think about at least hitting 20 degrees. That 25 degrees, not this Monday, but the following Monday, is looking pretty nice, dare I say.
I think I've been never desperately wanting for some degrees under 20 this far. Anytime.
That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with, John.
As our Japan meter talked about, we'll have our streamcast at 10, but don't forget we have our regular newscast at 6 and 11 today, so don't forget to tune in for that. But in terms of weather, we also have a streamcast coming up at 10, and me and Jack will gonna be there, so don't forget to tune in for that show. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you, John. Stay safe out there, stay warm, and of course, always be prepared. You can download the First Alert Weather app to keep you up to date with all of our forecasts, and also you can track out the storm for yourself with our First Alert radar. I'll see you at 6 o'clock, John.
Thank you, Jack. As Jack just talked about, our 16 News now is following this frigid temperatures and snowstorms across Michiana region, and that's why we had just had the streamcast at 4. We'll have our shows at 6 and 11, and we have another streamcast at 10 specifically about the weather conditions. So please stay tuned, and then as Jack mentioned about, we have our First Alert Weather app, which is free. You can download it in wherever your App Store or Google Play. So just feel free to download it and keep the track of the latest weather information. We'll see you at 6 in our regular newscast. And as just Jack talked about, stay warm out there if you're going out. Thank you so much for tuning in.